Good afternoon, everyone. Respected Chairman, Dr. Kiran Bedi, members of staff, my dear students. I'm a bit nervous because I'm standing next to a police officer. So I'm not my normal self today when I stand here. But I hope she will understand my current situation. It's indeed a red letter day in the annals of our school. We have seen many dignitaries in the past, and I don't think, even when Mr. Yashwant Sinha had come, I was so tensed, but today I am. But I'm sure with passing time now, things should be all right. Success is a planned outcome, not an accident. Success and mediocrity are both absolutely predictable because they follow the natural immutable law of sowing and reaping. Build your life around the one basic belief that there is no substitute for hard work. When combined with efficiency and commitment, it chisels the key of success. Society likes to use all sorts of labels to describe the good fortune of successful people. Some of them are positive, like making your own luck and being gifted, while others are derisive, as in being in the right place at the right time or growing up with privilege. But the truth is, with rare exception, it always comes down to making good choices. Following your passion is important, but so is identifying your strength. If you are passionate about something, but that is not your core strength, you will probably not become great at it. Therefore, identify that one thing where your passion and strength both merge. Think about how you can give value to people around you while pursuing it. Finally, have the courage to follow your convictions. This is the key to leading a life that makes you happy and also makes a difference in the world. Today, we have amidst us a very successful tennis player, as that was her passion, while she was like you and me in those days. This she imbibed from her father, and she went on to play for the country, and also a very reputed police officer who brought several major reforms in the police force while she was the Inspector General of Police at Delhi. Not only she was the first woman to join IPS, but she became the first and the highest ranking female officer in the service, who served for 35 years, dishing up tough and innovative policing tactics and reforms. Dr. Kiran Bedi went on to represent India in the international forums on crime prevention, drug abuse, effective policing, prison reforms, and women's issues. She worked with the United Nations as a police advisor in the peacekeeping department, ultimately winning a UN medal for her efforts. An inspiration to millions of women around the world. We are indeed honored to have her amidst us this afternoon. And on behalf of Bhavan's family, I extend Dr. Kiran Bedi a hearty welcome. May I I now request Saili Abhijit, who has represented our school twice at the National Badminton at New Delhi and elsewhere, to present Dr. Bedi with a bouquet and say welcome. Thank you, Saili. Once again, on behalf of everyone, let me thank our chairman as well, because he is instrumental in having a wonderful police officer amidst us this afternoon. Thank you, sir. And over to Dr. Kiran Bedi, because that is a lecture that we are all waiting for.
Chairman, sir, Principal, sir, members of this teaching staff, my dear children. I'm very, very happy to be with you today. Schools are a passion for me. I travel the world over reaching out youngsters like you, be it any part of the world. That's my passion today. Therefore, I'm very grateful when I got a call from Mr. Ashok Pradhan, who is being a retired IAS officer, with whom I worked when I was young in service. He was the deputy commissioner. He got a call that I got a call from him saying, Bharatiya Vidya Bhavan, Kuwait would like to invite you. We just had to juggle the dates, and here I'm with you. Therefore, I want to thank the chairman and the principal for inviting me to be with you. I write for you. Haven't you got a book? I write for you. I reach out to you. You might ask why. Why do I write for you? I've written a book called Making of the Top Cop. Have you seen it? Why have I written Making of the Top Cop? It's about you. It's making of you as top girls and boys. So it's for how basically to share with you that what will make you, what made me. Because this is an experience of a lifetime. And it's our duty to pass on the good practices to you. What will work for you? You don't have to lose any time which we may have lost if we pass on the right kinds of understanding to you. So that's what brings me to say, you can fast forward learning. You know, you can do a fast forward. You do a fast forward, don't you? For us, sometimes was a pause. But for you, it can be fast forward. You don't have to go back at all. So I come, and my whole object of writing these kinds of books is to help you fast forward and to pick up something much early in life. Like, for instance, if you were to ask me, what would I do better if I were your age? Done substantially. Made it to the Indian Police Service through a national competitive exam at the age of 21. Got a brilliant assignment right from that young age. Plenty. Became a nation tennis champion at the age of 18, 19. But if you ask me, what would I do differently? More. You want to know? That is what I've come for. What would I have done better? And even more. Despite my mother used to say, ab bahut ho gaya, so jao. Pad liya, bahut ho jaya, so jao. She's the one who would switch off the light and say, enough. Because I was a very, as the principal says, no substitute to hard work. I was exceedingly hardworking by nature, by design, by effort, because I had a purpose. I wanted to be somebody different. I didn't want to be an ordinary person who just comes and goes. I wanted to grow up to make the difference and to be different, continue to be of value. So what is it that I would do differently? Is something which I don't want you to grow up to say what I'm saying. I want you to say, I did it. And number one is, I would have read much more. I would have read more, even if it wasn't my subject. English honors was my subject in college, but I would have probably read classics in school. Even if I was a science or a mathematics student, nothing better than reading literature, reading classics. So I would have read more. And today, you have everything in your hands. I didn't have anything in my hands. I had to go to a library, Get a thick, fat book, carry that around, travel with it, read it even in the bathroom because I didn't want to waste my time. But what is with you is an iPad. You have the iPad with you. You have all the books. You've got the Wikipedia, you have the Google. You don't just have to go to Safari, click the book, you get it down. And you have audiobooks. You can listen to them. You can listen to the YouTube books today, which we didn't have. Had I had at that time, I would have read more, heard more, listened more to those classics. Why classics? Why read more? Because it gives you a lot of emotional quotient. By books, you get intelligence quotient. You get an IQ. And you're all bright children. You're coming from bright backgrounds. Like I came from a very bright background. I was born of wealthy parents, educated parents, parents who loved education, parents who loved sending me to the best school, just as your parents have sent you to the best school in the city. I too went to the best school in Amritsar called Sacred Heart. It was the other far end of the city, but my parents sent me there. It didn't matter how we went, whether by biking or jogging or bus or a tonga. We had those horse-driven carts. See, we went even by horse-driven carts. And we used to hang around the horse behind. Whenever the cart will stop, we'll get off the horse or cart and then have a lot of fun. We were very naughty. Be naughty. Remain naughty. Because that's what your age is. You have to be naughty. Naughty doesn't mean indiscipline. Naughty means a lot of fun. Naughty means a lot of joy, a lot of fun, playing around, even fighting, but then shaking hands again, saying we are best friends. So that's what I would do. It will improve your emotional quotient. It will improve your EQ. And you know what? You're tested all the time in your exams for IQ. But you're not tested for emotional. What is emotional quotient? Emotional quotient is love, forgiveness, integrity, honesty. And you have value education, isn't it? That's emotional quotient. Values your interpersonal relationships, your intrapersonal relationships, your perseverance, your discipline. All these are emotional quotient. You're not tested. There's no class chapter for it. It's all life about it. It's life which will pass you or fail you. Now, if I'm grown up in a disciplined way, grown up in a punctual way, grown up believing in integrity and honesty, believing in giving, believing in caring and compassion, being not greedy around, these are all emotional quotient. Respect for elders, these are all EQs. So these are tests as you go in life. I did not know. When I was your age, friends, nobody came and told us. Or if they did, it never entered in. It's not that we children are not told, but it doesn't go in. And we don't remember it. So I'm sure we must have had speakers who would have said this. But maybe because I didn't have the wisdom to value it, saying what this person is saying is of value. People come and speak. But for some, it gets into it. And what into it means it stays with you and becomes you. But for some, you hear and it goes out. And those are the losers. Gainers are those who hear from here and make it a part of the blood mainstream, and it goes right into the head and it stays with you. So what I'm giving you is what will stay with you, what must stay with you. You can read more, which means you have to be naughty, you have to play games, you got to have fun. Even playing games is emotional quotient. Why? You might ask me, why? Why games in emotional quotient? Because games teach you to lose. Games teach you to win. Games teach you to make friends. Games teach you to prepare and fight again and do better every time and yet be friends. Games make you networks. lifetime friends. And when you grow up like me, when you grow up older, you say, हम लोग याद है वो किया था, हमने हारा था, तू जीत गया था, तूने मुझे मारा था, मैंने तुझे मारा था, लेकिन friends बन गए. All this is life, which is not tested, but it comes back. So I would say, by the way, may I ask you a question? Do you all have bank accounts? Raise. No? Anybody having a bank account? Only one. Two. Only two have bank accounts. Three. Mom, dad opened a bank account for you? So only four have bank accounts. Five. Okay. Maybe 10. Maybe 10. You said 10 have bank accounts. But do you know you all have a bank account? Do you know you all have a bank account? Do you know you all have a bank account? You think bank account is only money? Money which can be spent away and finished? You have a permanent bank account with you. You are all very rich. You're the richest because you got age on your side. You all have a bank account. Will you all remember this? You all have a bank account? Say that. We all have a bank account. What is in the bank? You have age. Okay? Fine. What else? Knowledge is your bank account. With the time you have on your side, knowledge is your bank account. When I said, remember the first thing I told you? If I were you, I would have read more. So what happens when you read? Where does it go? Where does the knowledge go? It goes into your bank account of your mind, of your head. It's a knowledge center, which is a bank account. God has already given you this hardware and the software to store your knowledge. Isn't it? When you read your books so well and you're able to do so well, where is that knowledge coming from? Your bank account, which happens to be your brain. That means, and amazingly, this bank account is such a brilliant gift of nature that it expands the more you expand it. It doesn't blow. It doesn't get blown up, saying it's too much. It stores and it stores and it stores, and it also creates more space. It creates space. It is never exhausted. It needs no more hardware. It does not need an external hard disk. In computer, you run out of 2 GB, 3 GB, 10 GB. You want to get an external hard disk. Yes? Yes? This is not. This is the miracle of nature. It creates more space the more you give it. And do you know what? It also shrinks if you don't give it. It shrinks. It shrinks. But it doesn't show it from outside. Because it shrinks with them because out of no use. It's like language. When you learn a language, suddenly and when you stop practicing the language, what happens? You learnt a new language, French or Chinese, and you don't practice it. You learnt it while you passed an examination. But after that, you don't practice 3, 4, it shrinks. The recall is different. What has happened? It has what? Shrunk. You are the richest. Understand that as children, you're rich in health. You're rich in time because you have age on your side. But the biggest thing is you all carry a mobile bank with you. It's like a mobile bank, isn't it? It's not a fixed bank. It's an ATM all the time. All the time you can draw knowledge out of this ATM. I want this, it comes out. This is the finest gift nature has given to us. When I was small, nobody told me, feed with more. Even when I was traveling for competitive tennis exams, for tennis competitions all over the country, including Trivandrum, I used to go, and Kerala, all over the city. I used to carry books because I had exams to come and take. I was feeding it into this bank. But imagine, even despite that, I say I could do more. I would give you this exact one message. You are a walking knowledge bank. You're a walking healthy bank, and it'll be healthier if you feed it every day. Now, my second thing which I'd like to share with you, children, and pass it on to the teachers as parents also who can pass this on to you, that you want to read well, you need the art of concentration. You need the art of attention. Because if you have better attention, if you have better concentration, you grasp more. And your recall is more. Because if you read and can't recall, it's of less value. But if you can read and recall and it becomes part of your conversation, it's knowledge. It's a treasure. You know? It's no treasure if it's lost. But you want the treasure to come down when you're writing an essay, when you're doing a debating competition, when you're doing general knowledge, when you're conversing with people, that knowledge comes back. That is a treasure. And you need attention. And that is diminishing. That is what I had plenty. But there's one thing which I didn't do. I wish I'd done. And if I'd done this earlier, which I do now, but if I'd done it at your age, I would have probably been I don't know what, more than a police officer. Would you like to know that? Because you now know the first, that you're a walking ATM. Anna? The second thing, would you like to know? Yes or no? Yes. Everybody? Yes. Anybody who doesn't want to know, please raise your hands. I'll do a separate class with you. You all want to know. Because everybody did say yes. I saw some faces saying nothing. Yes or no? Yes. Now I learn. Is, how do you increase your concentration and attention? That is, every day, give yourself a few minutes to be quiet. Shut your eyes and be with you. Would you like to practice a bit? Should I give you a little practice? So that you remember this practice when you go home and later on in life, even if you stop practicing, it'll come back to you. Shut your eyes. All of you sit up and shut your eyes. And I'll tell you when to open. But don't go to sleep. Now, when you do shut your eyes, just be with yourself. Quiet. Observe what's going on in your mind. But focus. Try and focus on the tip of your nose. Try and focus. The more you can longer focus, more your concentration will improve. Keep your focus on the tip of your nose. Every day, 10 minutes of the day. While you are at the tip of the nose, saying, "Thank you, Almighty, for whatever you've given to me." Quietly, in your own heart, saying, "Thank you, Almighty, for giving me all that you have. Thank you, Almighty. Thank you, Almighty. Thank you, Almighty. Thank you, God, for everything. You've given me good health, given me great school. You've given me parents who've sent me here. You can open your eyes. I want to thank you for listening to me. Practice this any time of the day. That's for your choice. Even in a bus. Even when traveling in a bus. At home before you sleep. If you get time in the morning, it's up to you. You choose your time. This will be life transformative for you all your life. Did it cost you anything? Did it cost you money? It's free. But it will give you life forever. Children need attention. You're becoming more restless as a youth. The new generation is little restless. You may be wonderful. But as you grow up in life, there'll be challenges. At the moment, don't have any challenge. Everything is provided for. You're not worried about your school fee. You're not worried about your transport. You're not worried about your food. You're not worried about your clothing. You're not worried. It's there. God has given it to you. And you got the 5 wonders of the world. The 5 wonders of the world are not Taj Mahal and Eiffel Towers. What are the 5 wonders of the world? Yes. Those are the real gifts you have. Don't let them go. Use them properly. But those 5 senses are outward. They're all outside. You have to go inside. Take them inside. When you take these inward looking, then you are emerging, and then you're saying, thank you, God. That means your quarrel stops. Asking for more stops. Gratitude comes. One of the biggest thing in my life, I was growing up, was gratitude. That is why I could join the police service, because police service is not about taking. Armed forces is not taking. It's giving. Like teaching is not taking. Teaching is giving. These are missionary assignments. These are missions where you give. Like parents is not taking. It's all giving you love. Isn't it? So when you learn this gratitude in your life, this will be part of your character. And this is a part of the emotional quotient which I was talking to you about. So 3 things as a summation. First, what did I say? You're a walking bank. Feed it every day. Second, even I've forgotten, what did I tell you? What did I tell you? Yes. Paying attention. Do you know paying attention also helps you? To pay attention, I'm getting angry, or I'm cheating, or I'm being rude, or I'm being greedy, or I'm being selfish. This is paying attention. Not only paying attention to the tip of your nose, but you're paying attention to even what you're doing. That's called paying attention to what you're doing. You're listening to yourself. You're seeing yourself. You're feeling yourself. Oh, I'm not doing something right. There's a story of somebody said, bring me a chicken, but the condition is I will only take that chicken. You know the story? Okay, I'll tell you this. It's a very small story. Saying, bring me a chicken, but the condition is that chicken should not be able to see. All right? But he went around trying to get the chicken, but he said, but the chicken was seeing. Till I did it, but chicken was seeing. How do I bring you a chicken? Because the chicken was seeing. Till I shut its eyes, chicken was seeing. How did I? Unless I kill it, it was seeing. It was not a blind chicken. It was a seeing chicken. The chicken was seeing. What did that person do? He was seeing himself. He wasn't seeing the chicken. He was seeing the chicken, but he was seeing himself, which meant it goes into the realm of internal witnessing. That's what I'm saying. When you grow up, you witness yourself. You hear yourself. You see yourself. What am I doing? That's not the right thing I'm doing. I'm speaking, but your ears are listening because you've internalized attention. And you're saying, oh, I'm listening. I'm not saying the right thing to my friend. Or I'm gossiping. Or I'm lying. I'm telling lies. When you tell lies, don't you listen to yourself? You don't. Or only others listen. If you lie, you think you don't listen to yourself? You don't. The day you start becoming attentive, you say, oh God, I'm lying, I'm a liar. So children, I thought these are the 3 good messages, key messages, which will be life altering. I've given you those 3 treasures of my life, which I think if I would be in your age, I would adopt it even more. I would have read more. I would have paid more attention to whatever I'm doing, and I would have been also still. I would have learned the art of still. This stillness is another form of meditation, which you call it meditation. You may not call it meditation, call it art of stillness. Just being there. This way, once you are there, it will be life altering for you and a skill which will take you through life successfully. That's taking the mantras of success. The mantra of success and a growing up character building is feed yourself with the right food. Body, mind, soul. All the three. You're providing something for the soul when you're still. And you're providing something for the mind on a daily basis. And once you are attentive, you will look after your body. And you will remain healthy all your life. And if you remain healthy, India gets healthy citizens. You know you have a very big responsibility ahead. You will be the leaders of a country which will be the world's largest youth country. Do you know this? You will be number one country in the world of which you will be the youth leaders. You. Another 5-10 years, you will be leadership in the corporate or in the world or in the business, wherever you are, in teaching, whatever professions. You will be leadership positions. 5-7 years. By the time India would be world's largest democracy and the largest millions of youth. You want to be healthy? You want to be capable? You want to be successful? And each one matters. You want to be skilled? Skilled internally and externally? Hand, head and heart? Education is 3H. Head, heart and hands. If you are skilled in head, heart and hands, India would be a solid country. And remember, each one matters. One person makes the difference. One person. And one, all make the difference. Girls or boys, no difference. Girls or boys, when you get this kind of quality education, there's no difference. Difference is only the way you interpret yourself. When I was joining the Indian Police Service, I was the only girl in a batch of 80 boys. When I joined the Indian Police Service, I didn't even know I was the first woman in Indian Police Service. I didn't know when I joined. They told me, do you know you're the first? I said, no, I didn't. But do you want to stay on? I said, yes, because that's what I want. One person made the difference. After me, now if a woman who qualifies for the Indian Police Service says she doesn't want it, they say, no, you only want it, we need you. Now they don't give her a choice to change. And when I took over, the Home Minister called me and said, do you want to change? I said, no. I just want the service because this service serves the absolutely poor who need me. One person does make the difference. And one person, to today, a large percentage of women have joined the Indian Police Service. So friends, always remember, you have your own value, you have your own position. So will you remember the 3 things I shared with you? Yes. Always? Yes. You may practice, you may forget, but these are 3 things you'll never ever lose track of. And all of you who practice these things every day, the emotional quotient, the book, your bank of knowledge, your mobile bank, and you're paying attention by stillness, you will see you will be standing out in the crowd. Everybody in the crowd, but you will be different. Then they'll say, what makes you different? You will say, the schooling I got, the nurturance I got, the education I got. That's what happened with me at the United Nations. When they called me and they said, which school did you come from? Your English is far better than many others' English. Then I said, Sacred Heart School. See, it mattered. Because my English was clearer. The pronunciation was, it could be understood properly. And it's not that I was born with it. I learnt it. Somebody taught it to me. And then it became a habit. But it made the difference. You stand out in the crowd. And then they ask you, where are you from? You look Indian. Where are you from? Which school did you come from? That is how you will carry forward Bharatiya Vidya Bhavan. Thank you very much.
I'm Shiv. I'm in grade 10. I was just going through the pages of your books, and you also mentioned the book that you wrote for all of us, all children's. I wanted to know, why did you write the book in the form of a comic and not in the form of an autobiography?
Good question. Because this is the only thing you'll read. because you can't miss the pictures. So you want to quickly see. But if I'd given you a book, you would have said, okay, I'll read it when I want to. Or you read 2 pages and you get bored. Oh, I'll put it aside. But by this, did you get bored? And in 15 minutes, you know it. That's the reason. I know you.
Good afternoon, ma'am. I must say that was a really wonderful session, and thank you for it. I have a question. Like 10 years from now, when we become the citizens of India, what do you think that we will do that will change the country?
Groom yourself on these lines I've told you. Choose, look at a vision, a dream. What is it that is attracting you? What kind of work will you do? Start thinking about it and study, research now. You need to be all research scholars. Research. The more you read and research, the more outstanding you will be. So one is passing in exams by rote learning. The other is larger research. Combine both. One is got to pass the exam till the exams patterns change. But if you research on the subject, if you're looking, whatever you choose, because everybody has their own inclinations, right? Start building up on that. And once you do that, you will be walking into that. But you have to grow, you will grow up to give, not only to take. You will earn your skill very well. You will be qualified. Enough will be there for you, but there'll be surplus. What will you do with the surplus? So that is also your dream. What will I do with my surplus in my country? And you may be in any part of the world. If you're a successful Indian, India wins. Remember that. Therefore, plan, think, see what you like, read a lot. I just want you to keep track of the All India Radio News, because one day you're going to return to India. How do you keep track of what's happening in India? Go to a Twitter account, All India Radio, and it gives you the news, the 8 a.m. news. Now, when it's 8 a.m., it's about you're sleeping at that time, you see, because you go back 3.5 hours, isn't it? No. 2.5 hours. So you'll be probably sleeping. Don't worry. Go to the Twitter account, All India Radio. Tweet that account, they show you, or go to the computer and go to 8 a.m. or 8:15 news in English. Hindi 8 a.m. Listen to those news. It gives you the whole wrap up of the policies and new ideas. It's very, very solid news. So if you miss reading national papers, which obviously it's not easily accessible the way it is with us, I don't miss the news at all. Because that gives me national news from a very good perspective. If you start doing that, you will get a continuity and you'll know what's happening in India and you'll know what to do. And you'll feel enthusiastic. Oh, this is happening, this change. Because the television doesn't give you all that news. Because television has, first of all, it's so hundreds of channels. Which one do you want? Secondly, you don't stay on particular channel, you keep changing, right? Third is, it doesn't give you in-depth news because otherwise that's not the way the commercial is. So if you want package in 12 minutes, go to All India Radio Twitter account and go tweet. Even if it's not 8 a.m., they will say 8 a.m. news or 9 p.m. news. Click and you'll get it all. So I would say, since one day you have to come back, prepare for India. Prepare to return. Prepare to lead. Again, creating a center for you for your news from Delhi. So start listening to those All India Radio and you start getting prepared. And each one of you will, after the 12th standard, you will know which subjects to choose and why, and where to study, what for, and what will you do. Because India will depend a lot on you. The startup news, what is happening on startup news, which the Prime Minister has been announcing, the startup news, you must know what is startup. What are those schemes which radio will tell you. And then, of course, you can Google and read a newspaper to know. But you will keep the link. Just quickly, 15 minutes, you will get the link. Start doing that as a habit. That's a good question you asked.
Thank you, ma'am.
Encouraged by your work for the reformers in Tihar jail, I read and heard a lot about it. I would really like to know some experiences of yours, that how did you manage to overcome your fears over there and how did you actually reform those criminals? Because that is not what a usual police officer would do. As we have seen in movies, generally police officers just nab a criminal, they shoot him, encounter and all that. So I really would like to know what you exactly did.
Police officers ought to shoot only that person, otherwise he will shoot you. So it's like who gets whom first. And that's lawful also. It's lawful that if it's larger life and property, then you have to get him first before he gets you. But what I did in Tihar jail was, it was an institution. It was an institution of over 10,000 people, of which 9,000 plus were men. Just about 500 were women. And when I walked into that institution, I looked at it as a city of sick people who've committed crimes. Their sickness was not, they were sick in bed. No, they were sick here. This was empty. It was full of crime. It was full of falsehood, guilt, greed, lies, selfishness, right? Bad friends. This was all full. It was contaminated. So I started to look at it as an institution which needs this cleaning. So now how does this get cleaned? This is full of thoughts. It's not full of books, it's full of thoughts. What you read is a thought. And as you think, it settles. If you like an idea, it's full of ideas, right? So all I started to do was educate them. I started to educate them. Now 10,000 people to educate, ask the principal, it's a nightmare. How many teachers would I need? How many books would I need? How much stationery would I need? One of the most unique things which happened as a measure, was a transformative measure, was 10,000 prisoners. I linked them with schools outside around Delhi and say, you, each school, donate me school books. Which books? New? No, old. You go to the next standard. You go to 4th standard to 5th standard. You go to 6th standard. What do you do with the old books? You do not know what to do with them. I told the schools, donate me your old school books. Children who move to the next standard, I need those books. Donate me used school books. Give me the bag as it is, with the stationery. So I was gifted with 100 schools around Delhi, in Delhi. They started to donate me every class book. And in 10,000 prisoners, we created a data bank. Which prisoner is what class dropped out? Most of them were dropouts or failed. None of them were very bright, let me tell you. So we categorized them into primary, middle, higher, and language classes and upper classes. So we grouped them into classes. So every class was about 40, 50. Then you might just say, I'd arranged the books. I now knew how many students, which class, right? Then teachers, prisoners, some of the prisoners who were the educated class, we got them out. We asked for teachers from outside to volunteer teaching. So retired teachers came from outside to volunteer time. And educated prisoners from within became teachers, and we gave them books, we gave them a classroom, we gave them a blackboard, and we start to push bad thoughts out by good thoughts. So it was like a dry cleaning. So we start to dry clean. It became an ashram, because in the morning they were studying. It was a school. And they had an attendance sheet, they had examinations, we used to give them prizes, we got publishers to donate books. It was all by community support. And that is how every day from 9 to 11, we had a school. And then 12 o'clock, the lunch was served and they get locked up again. That was the time we had. Prior to 9, we made them do yoga. Again, practicing self-watch, self-discipline. So yoga, school. Then the evening, we had spiritual discourses from all faiths coming in to take, again pushing negative thoughts out. And then we took them towards a larger meditation programs. This became the curriculum of the day, the schedule of the day. So I gave them all a timetable. So I too was principal of the Tihar Ashram. I acted like a principal. That is how we did. at no cost to the government. Imagine zero cost to the government. Use school books and teachers. So the government could not say, wait, we don't have the money to teach. I didn't even ask them. I started to do it. And this is the way we did it. And it became the most revolutionary program of its time. And this is very rare it happens. I'm now doing training programs in Indian prisons, encouraging them to do what was possible to do in Tihar with community help, not with government funding, but with community support. And it is working. We are already training all prisons in Haryana right now, and it is now developing programs.
Mom?
Yeah.
Mom, what were the challenges you faced in social and professional life in your life? Like, especially when you have an aim to reach such a high position. So, like, there are many people who keep trying to pull you down. So, how did you face those type of challenges?
Emotional quotient will help you. That was exactly the preparation I was trying to give you. Because every challenge is unique. But how do you respond to it? When you have your value system intact, it will answer you. Your conscience will tell you, train you. Too early for me to tell you how. But it is my earlier training, my sports competitive habit. I knew how to lose and yet win. I knew how to prepare. I knew how to communicate. I knew how hard work works. Support systems, all this, my child, is a little too early for me to explain. But at the moment, if you just do what I'm telling you to do and your teacher's telling you, it will prepare you. And the answer is emotional quotient. So read a lot. Your reading will guide you. Your reading will give you ideas. Your reading will see how others solve the problems. That's why I gave you a book. It is guiding you to see how I did. If you notice in that page, one of the page is when I'm playing tennis and I'm sitting on the side with books. What am I doing? I'm not letting even a minute go. So this is at the age of 14, 13, 12, when I'm learning to learn time management. Now, when I learn time management, what am I doing in my life now? Time management. Same habit. Now, when I do time management, what is it giving me? Much more to give. So I'm giving you time, but I'm getting time for my country. That's my service. Because when you become brilliant leaders, I am investing for the future of this country. I'm getting my time. So friends, children, when you read, when you study well, and you think, and you witness, this is how you will develop, and you will know how to do. That's how I learned. But if you need to read the bigger book of mine, then there's a biography called I Dare. I've written a book, which is for teachers and elders, college students. It's called I Dare. I wish I'd brought that book, but I can send it to you. Or when the chairman comes to Delhi, I will gift him some books for your library, the senior books, which you can read and keep them in your library. But I've also converted again that into a comic book, because I know you won't read a fat book. So I've converted that into a new comic book, which is about my policing, challenges how I faced, and that's been released this book fair in January. I'll gift, by the way, I've got it. This is the new book. It's called Creating Leadership. And it's again a comic. See? Because this is giving you pictures with leadership lessons. And it's coming out of my archives. So I will send you some more books for your library when the chairman meets me in Delhi. Okay? You can read them in the library.
My name is Ashutosh Sharma.
Yes, Ashu.
And I have a passion to become an army officer.
Wonderful.
So would you suggest some tips for me?
Brilliant. Are you good at sports? Are you good at sports?
Yes, I am.
Brilliant. So after the 12th, take the exam of the NDA and others. Prepare yourself. So become your young cadet straight away. So start researching. How do you join the army after the 12th standard? Go to the youngest school, sit for that examination while others will go for other exams. You go for an NDA exam. Yes, do your research. I'm sure the school will provide the career planning, right? You do that. So you will get that. You go into that and find out the latest, what is the way to do it.
Yes,
Wish you very well. You're going to be protecting us all. Have you been following the Siachen news?
yes.
You would. If you are loving army, you would. See how brave Indian soldiers are? And how 200 soldiers rescued him, brought him to life, right? He's though in the hospital, yet how they rescued him? Oh, he passed away. Oh, how sad. I'm so sorry, I was on the flight at that time. But how brave they are. We cannot repay them. We cannot repay them at all. We cannot repay them. But they are the bravest. It is these people who actually won that territory for India, which overlooks China and Pakistan. And it gives them a territory by which India is better protected. And they're so trained. 200 people, how they brought him out while he was still alive, while he was still breathing. So this is called bravery. So prepare yourself, join young so that you reach right to the top.
Thank you, ma'am.
Good afternoon, ma'am. Ma'am, my name is Nawal Sayed, and first of all, I'm from Pakistan. And keeping beside our hatred, you are an inspiration in both the countries. Thank you so much, ma'am, for whatever you do. Ma'am, we are 14, 15 years old, and being from India and Pakistan, the one thing we hear in our news is that rape case in this place, an explosion in that place. Ma'am, what do we do to stop that? Ma'am, being 14 and 15, we hear so many big things, but how do we stop it?
Be Malala.
Ma'am, okay, yeah, okay. But, okay. Anything besides Malala?
You are the Malalas. You are the Malalas of the subcontinent. Yeah. All she's saying all the time is education. You be the ambassadors of peace. You be the ambassadors of peace. If the community overwhelmingly says we want peace, at least there will be some harmony. Otherwise, if everybody's not talking peace or violence, then everybody's at risk. You be the ambassador of peace and education. One day, who knows? You do your bit. And you have put remarkable. After all, one Malala did it. Yeah. Isn't it?
Yes, ma'am.
So will you be? Inside you say, I'll be the next Malala. Okay. Yes.
Thank you, ma'am.
But you don't have to tell everybody. Just be. When it's a situation to tell, tell. When it's not a situation to tell, don't tell. Keep quiet. Don't have to lie. Just be quiet. But be the real Malala. She needs millions of them. We need millions of them in the subcontinent. Yes? Thank you.
Good afternoon, ma'am. Ma'am, I'd like to ask you what were the career options you had in mind other than IPS, and who is your role model?
My role model is my home. My parents were my role models. My home. Yeah? My books. My teachers. They were, so I got it all from my school, my home, my teachers, and my parents. They're the ones I trusted. What is a role model? Whom you trust and you respect and you learn from, right? So that's what was in my life. They've all left behind. They left me alone here. But the fact is, that's what you treasure, you get the maximum out of them. I had no other option but the Indian Police Service. It was very focused. That is why I got it in the first lot. I got it because it was so focused. When I was training you to be more attentive, what did it mean? Concentration, focus. So when you're very focused, you give it all your energy. Nature conspires to give it to you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, ma'am. My name is Nisha, and ma'am, I would like to know, how did you manage both your family life and your career?
Thanks to my parents.
No, like after you got married.
Yes, my parents were with me. They supported me all through.
Ma'am,
It's very rare for an Indian family.
But I'm really happy your parents were a role support, ma'am. I wish.
Yes, I was very gifted. My mother and my father were my real support. They supported me throughout. That's why I didn't have to worry about my home. I was truly gifted. This is a very rare blessing which a daughter can get.
Thank you, ma'am.
But each one of us has a family, and if we nurture our families and respect our families, everybody has a family. It all depends. But some are gifted more.
Good afternoon, ma'am. Thank you for the motivating. During your posting in Goa, you opened a bridge that was not to be opened.
So you've done your research?
Yes.
Yeah.
Wikipedia. I read that you opened the bridge that was to be opened by a politician after a few days. You went and removed the blockades. What gave you the courage to go against such powerful leaders? And it could be a threat to your life too, but you went and did it to ease the traffic. What gave you such courage?
And I joined the police service much after school and college, which means the courage came at your stage. The courage comes by doing, constantly creating. Creativity is the key thing. I was very creative. I was willing to take risks, try things new, try differently. So creativity is something which makes you more courageous. Like constantly playing competitive tennis is creative tennis. Being in extracurricular activities is creative. I would go into drama, into athletics, whether I win or not doesn't matter. I was creative. I was experimenting. How do I do and learn? I was an NCC cadet. So I was a very strong all-rounder. When you're an all-rounder, you learn everything. You become more confident. You become more courageous.
Thank you, ma'am.
So I was not afraid of anything like that. Powers that be could not overawe me. I had a duty to do. They had their own position to take. I did my duty. They had their own position. So I was never afraid of doing my duty.
How did you balance your extracurricular activities and your studies, ma'am? And if you would say time management, like how do you percentage it? Like
Good.
what percentage?
Have you got a copy
importance
of
would
this
you give?
book?
No, actually, no.
Have you got a copy?
No.
Okay. It didn't reach you this far. Well, that's exactly what this book is about. How did I balance my time and extracurricular activities?
All right. Thank you, ma'am.
At very high concentration. Do you know how many seconds we have in a day?
Then count it, ma'am.
How many? Tell me. How many seconds in a day we have? How many?
I don't.
Calculate. Calculate. Mental maths, huh? Seconds. I'm talking of seconds. Okay, I'll give you a hint. 86,000 plus kitne hai? It is 86,400. It's 86,400 seconds. Just plan them well. Don't let them waste. इसमें से निकाल लो स्कूल जाना है, इतनों में मैंने पढ़ना है और बाकी मैंने ये करना है. You have a task. You fulfill that. You have a day schedule. Focus on that. That's why I try to teach you focus, attention. Once you practice that, then whatever you will learn in 2 hours, you will learn in 20 minutes. Because your concentration is improved. Your grasp is improved. So that's what has happened. I used to do that. I used to plan my schedule कि मुझे ये तो करना ही है, उसके बिना नहीं सोना है. So I used to teach myself discipline. This is what, once you do that now, all your life it becomes natural. It becomes second nature for you. You'll naturally do it. Okay?
Thank you so much, ma'am.
Thank you.
Okay. Good afternoon, ma'am.
Good afternoon.
Well, most of the boys know me since last year as the guy who keeps crying for no reason. As I'm
Crying?
Yeah, because I'm pretty emotional.
Crying?
It's because I am a bit emotional, and I've been so, but the thing is, I like to step up for my friends, and I like to step up for what I like to do. But when I hear other people talking about me in a way which I do not like, I really get frustrated. So even if I'm at focus, I'd like to learn to forgive them, and as well as I'd like to know how to overcome that.
I'm so happy. Clap for him. He's an honest boy. See, he's an honest boy who wants to do better, right? Who's seeking solutions, isn't it? Who are your teachers?
Well, I have my class teacher, Hajra ma'am. She is there. Then I have
And others?
Then I have my maths teacher, Babu sir.
Very nice. And any other?
Then I have my bio teacher, Tessie ma'am. Physics, Austin sir. Chemistry, Sarita ma'am. Geography, Meenakshi ma'am. And I also have plenty of other teachers, like, for example, then I've got my economics teacher, Anu ma'am. English teacher, E.P. Prasad sir. And I also have a couple of other teachers who's taught me before and who's helped me a lot, like just to name a few. And I also have my French ma'am, I forgot about Jyoti ma'am. He's helped me a lot. And then there is Jamie ma'am and a few other teachers who I know who's helped me.
I want to give you full marks for standing up and having had the courage to say, I need your help. That's the boy. That's the way it should be. When I said mention your teachers, you need to have a very good session with your teachers. Have a one-to-one session with your teachers so that they can give you the right wisdom and the answers to respond to these situations. Right? Now, what are your subjects? What are your preferred subjects?
Well, I like maths, physics, a little bit of chemistry, as well as English.
Right. So once you start achieving here, this is the group of teachers. Sit down with this bright boy. He is the best boy. I think you need to sit down with him and work it out for a strategy so the next time he says something different. Yes. Right? Would you like to come and sit down here?
No, I prefer standing.
There's no chair there. Come here.
No,
There's a chair
I
there.
like to be with my friends.
Okay. Okay, you're welcome. You're welcome. I appreciate that. Thank you. But remember one thing. When others don't understand you, there's something wrong with them, not you. Remember that. And your joy and happiness is not going to be dependent on them. Yours will depend on what you can do and what you achieve. Okay? So sometimes when you get an opportunity, take a session with that person who says something which is immature. Says, come sit down. I'll tell you. There's something which you need to know. You may learn or you may not learn. It's your choice. Get my point? So you can become a mentor to the person who may be small in his own intelligence. Forgive them, but educate them. But also have a session with your teachers. Okay? Thank you.
Good afternoon, ma'am. Ma'am, I want to ask you, what according to you is lacking in the youth of India?
I think a sense of belonging. It's a sense of belonging. What are they growing up for? It's a sense of responsibility. It's a greater responsibility. What are they growing up for? India is going to be a very demanding country. Why only India? The world is going to be very demanding. Look how uncertain the world is becoming. Weather is constantly changing. Infrastructure is in short supply. There's a big drive between haves and the have-nots. It's a very demanding world. You are moving towards a generation which will have to rise to the occasion. You need to get that sense of responsibility now. That you are gifted. There are many others who are not gifted. Those of us who work with the poorest of the poor, see it every day. We straddle between the two. We work with you, children, and we also work on the other end. You are gifted. Therefore, this gift is not for a selfish living. You've got to get yourself ready to take on the leadership. To be able to capably give. Capably give. Your word uses capably give. I think that's a sense of responsibility. It's a sense of ownership. It's rights or duties. You already have your rights. You must learn your duties. There are many others who have no rights. What do I tell them for duties? But you already have your rights. You got your rights. You're secure. You're well fed, well looked after, well educated, everything. You got your rights as a child. So you have to grow up to perform your duties. While those who don't even have their rights. So you've got to be preparing for that. So that's what I think. If the youth, why only youth? Every person, but youth, because you are going to be the majority in this country, grow up responsibly to perform your duties, but with a sense of joy, not compulsion, not a musibat. Musibat nahi hai. It's a sense of responsibility with joy because you got it all.
Good afternoon, ma'am. Ma'am, it's a dream come true. Being born and brought up in Delhi, in Janakpuri D block,
All right.
very near to Tihar jail.
Correct.
I've heard, not just me, we had more time to play at that time with our friends, and that was the time when you were posted in Tihar. We've heard so many stories about you, how you were reforming the prisoners, and really, we were so inspired that we wanted to meet you, and being so close, we could not. So, ma'am, being a social science teacher, we try our level best to motivate our children to look for the society, because in the date of today, they're only looking for math, science, and being doctors and scientists, and they forget to be a citizen. We try our level best. We find great difficulty in motivating because the corruption is a big factor. Then they say, ma'am, one of us do something, we are not able to change anything big. Ma'am, how do we motivate? We as social science teachers ask you, because we are handling children at a very tender age where they're going to really build up the confidence to work for the country. And there we feel great difficulty in motivating them because there are many disappointing factors also around. How do we motivate and how do we keep them inspired?
It's a wonderful question, and I think couldn't be better than the roundup. Do you know the first thing I asked you to do what? What did I say? Read. Read what? Not mathematics, not physics, classics, autobiographies. You may be a science student. If you do not read these, you will be like machines, not human beings. That is why it's called humanities. That's why social sciences is called humanities. It makes you more human. So, even when you're a doctor, you're an engineer, you're a mathematician, you're a scientist, you need to be a good human being because you have to lead your life. You understand? If you do not read classics, whatever your subjects be, you will become machines. And you'll not be talking about your duties, you'll only be talking about your rights. You'll become one more human machine. We need human beings who will run the machine, who will create a machine and not become the machine. So therefore, I would urge you, read classics, read autobiographies, read good literature, and it's all available on the Wikipedia. Even if it's short, read it. If you can't get a hard copy book, read it on the thing. Listen to these nice YouTubes, they're very exciting. Click anything and read. In fact, you should have a reading, what have you read should become a distribution time, sharing time. You could even have a sharing hour of what have you read. Let people come on the stage and say, I read this, I like this. I think come and express it. It'll be a great thing of reading hour, even if you do it once a fortnight, would be exciting. Come and share, I learned this, and I can tell you, then it'll be mutual learning. I learned this. Oh, so that means one person is reading, but telling another 200. It'll be exciting. Or could be anything, could be whatever you're interested in. Once you do that, her challenge will be met. What is not her challenge? It's a world citizenship challenge. I am a student of humanities. I did political science, I did psychology, I did English literature. I did international law, I did European history, I did Indian constitution, did my master's in political science. Accordingly, I read Aristotle, I read Plato, I read Wordsworth. It was so wonderful. I did my science and mathematics in college, in school, but after that I was a humanities student. But without that, I wouldn't have been able to achieve all this. And I've noticed many engineers who join the services are so robotic because they're not their fault, because they've only learned how to calculate. Humanities is the only thing which will keep you human. Therefore, you may be any science student or mathematics. Music, dance, in extracurricular, go and join, sing. Sing, dance, play, create, paint, Get into these arts. Each one of you should be part of the art. Play, sing. It's not girl or boy. It's not play, it's girl or boy. It's human mind. It's a human heart which wants to sing. Human heart, human body wants to dance. Enjoy. Unless you do that, you're losing out on your valuable time, friends. That's exactly what I did. And I know if you notice in this book, they're full of extracurricular activities. It was all these subjects. Because you do not know which quality you will get from where. You ask me, what is your role model? These qualities, these activities were I was learning something from everywhere. Something from the book, something from an event, something from a competition. It makes you more all-rounded. Have you understood? Please do not be boxed. Similarly, art students should also not be afraid of knowing science and mathematics, because that will help you in your life. It will make you more organized. So these subjects are there. They're not mutually exclusive. They are inclusive. In the end, the head, the heart, and the hands have to deliver. And they have to be in alignment. And they have to be nutritioned. They need food, knowledge, skill, emotions. So that's the answer to your teacher. And that's where our education in schools is getting isolated. We don't have to. It has to be integrative. Once you do that, you will be very uniquely different. I bless you, and may you all be very, very happy and successful ahead in life. Thank you. I want to present you from some things for Embry Foundation. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Kiran Bedi. I think you have touched each and every chord of our wonderful students. I could feel the resonating sound emanating from those as you were touching them in a very subtle manner, but very powerful indeed. It is a very inspiring talk that you gave at the beginning. Reading maketh a man is something which is printed everywhere. Unfortunately, it is not printed in the hearts of the today's youth. That's the only place that is not printed. Otherwise, this is very well known that you read and keep reading, you grow. Intellectually, you grow emotionally as well. Ma'am said it very right, and you could see the passion whenever she said, read. You could see in her eyes the glow as she was saying those. I hope her message is very clear to each and every one of you, dear students. And more so to my teachers as well, because reading never stops. It can never stop till our vision becomes extremely poor, that even a bifocal glass may not be enough to read. Right? So may I, on behalf of our chairman, and we also have some lovely parents with us today here, and all my teachers and wonderful children, thank abundantly Dr. Kiran Bedi for taking a long flight, almost 4.5 hours from Delhi to Kuwait, and then taking a 15 minutes of break, and then again with us for another hour and 20 minutes. It's, I think, truly a very strong police officer she is. She will be with us. She will be with us tomorrow for our function, and I'm sure that we have prepared events that will unfold the entire Bhavan's culture that we try to imbibe in this foreign land. And as she said, you must sing, you must dance, you must do everything. And I'm sure all of you are going to do everything tomorrow. So with these few words, I once again would like to thank our chairman and all of you who are here for making her visit really, really memorable. Thank you very much.